in the interest of time, I'll dive deep straight into the question. One of the questions, sir, is that you are one of the most experienced politicians in this region. Uh, what can you do to pull the country out of the current debt trap?
I think we've done the first part, which is to get the primary balances and even a surplus in the current account balances. So now we are to the next step, which is a transformation of the economy in the next 5 years. You do achieve that, and I think by 2030, the country will be able to reduce its debt. We have to, I'm not talking of Sweden, which went from about 80% of debt, the GDP to 34, but if we come to somewhere in the level of 60 or 55, we are home and dry. So that's the next effort. That's a transformation that we have to handle.
Okay. Dhammika, can I ask you a quick question? Currently, Sri Lanka's per capita is around $4,000. Essentially, we are a middle-income country. Now, to get to a developed country, we need to have a per capita of about 12,500 US, right? What are some of the ideas that you have to get Sri Lanka there?
No, Dinesh, mama 2014 ඉඳලා අද වෙනකම් 5 years මම මේක කියන්නේ first 2 years මොකද $4,000 trap වෙනවා කියලා World Bank හැමතැනම තියෙනවා. ඒක හින්දා අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම 14 15 growth එක නැති වෙනකොට අපි දැක්කා මේක trap වෙන්න යන්නේ කියලා. The last 5 years only $50 වලින් තමයි GDP එක ඒ වගේ වැඩි වෙන්නේ. ඒතර $50 වලින් වැඩි වුණොත් 12,000 වලට යන්න 160 years යනවා. එතකොට දැන් ඔය අහන්නේ 12 වලට යන්න. හැබැයි මම last 3 years මේ සම්බන්ධව ස්ටඩි කරලා තියෙනවා. Czech Republic 1993 $4,000 පාස් කරලා දැන් වෙනකොට 20,000 වලට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. Turkey 98 $4,000 පාස් කරලා අද වෙනකොට 10,000 range එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. 2004 Russia $4,000 range එකේ ඉඳලා අද 10,000 වලට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. 2007 Thailand $4,000 range එකේ ඉඳලා අද වෙනකොට තාම 6,800 තමයි තියෙන්නේ. The 2000 ඉඳලා the Malaysia $4,000 ඉඳලා අද වෙනකොට 10,000 වලට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි අපේ ළඟම තියෙන රට Maldives මොකද පොඩි economy එකක් $500,000 economy එකක් $500,000 people ඉන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ 2006 වල $4,000 වලට ඇවිල්ලා 2019 දැන් $12,000 වලට යනවා. Maldives. ඉතින් එතකොට අපි මේක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම බැලුවා මොකද Czech Republic ඉඳලා $20,000 ඉඳලා අපිට අතරේ රටවල් තියෙනවා 71ක්. ඒතර මේ 71 දිහාම බලලා තමයි මම අද කතා කරන්නේ. මොකද අපි last 3 years වලම මේ subject එක හොඳට බැලුවා මොකද්ද රටට කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඉතින් බැලුවාම අපිට පෙනිච්ච එක දෙයක් තමයි මේක nation එක brand කරන්න ඕනේ. productivity and innovation ගේන්න ඕනේ. startup, unorganized sector, SME, large industries වලට support කරන්න ඕනේ. agriculture and food security එක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඊට අමතරව precision, social development and poverty reduction එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. මම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම කියන්නම් nation brand කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා. nation brand කරන්නේ 6 pillars තියෙනවා. nation එක brand කරනකොටම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම අහන්නේ good governance. මම හිතන්නේ good governance දැන් embassy දස්සලත් එක්කම කතා කරාම good governance වල එක එක අඩුපාඩු කිව්වා. හැබැයි ඒකට මම හිතන්නේ prime minister president එකතු වෙලා දැන් political donation act එක මම හිතන්නේ ගේන්න යනවා. ඒතර ගියහම good governance අපිට ඇත්තටම මේක හොඳට කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ දෙක people and future jobs මම ඒක ඇත්තටම පිටිපස්සෙන් කතා කරන්නම්. ඊට පස්සේ religion, culture and heritage. එතකොට අපිට දැන් තියෙන problem එකට address කරනවා නම් religion and culture ඇත්තටම රට ඇතුලේ අපි කැනඩා වල තියෙන මොඩල් එක බැලුවා multiculturalism act එක. අපි සිංගප්පූරුවල බැලුවා religious harmony act එක. ඇත්තටම ලංකාව වගේ රටකට ගේන්න පුළුවන් නම් religious and multiculturalism harmony act එකක්. act එක ගහලා මේන්ම ඕකේ තියෙන්නේ any form of the hatred in any against the any religion have to be jailable offense and followed by the rehabilitation process. මොකද ඒ වගේ කරොත් විතරයි මේක ඒ පැත්ත ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ අපි බලුවා නොදර්න් වලට මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. මේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නෙට අපි දැක්කා identity card office එක, passport office එක, motor traffic, මැණික්කා ස්වර්ණාභරණ, රස පරීක්ෂක දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව, විදේශ සේවා නියුක්ති කාර්යාංශය, ඒ වගේ ඒව ඔක්කොම full fledged branch හැටියට මේ හැම ඒරියා එකකටම යන්න ඕනේ. නැත්තම් අපි හිතන්නේ යාපනයේ නැහැ කියලා නෙවෙයි. ඒක පොළොන්නරුවෙත් නැහැ, හම්බන්තොටත් නැහැ, ඒ හැම තැන්වලම නැහැ. ඉතින් එතකොට මේ වගේ කරොත් අර තියෙන ગેප් එක නැති වෙයි. ඊට අමතරව ඒකේ ඇතුලේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න බැලුවොත් ඇතරම ප්‍රශ්න ලිස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්න. ඒ කියන්නේ ඩෙත් සර්ටිෆිකේට් එක දෙන්න නැතුව ඉන්නවා දැන් අවුරුදු 10ක් තිස්සේ. ඉතින් ඒක කන්ඩිෂනල් ඩෙත් සර්ටිෆිකේට් එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ඕන වෙලාවකට. ඒ වගේ අයිටම්ස් බැලුවොත් 100ක් අපිට ලිස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඒක අපි හදාගත්තොත් මම හිතන්නේ මම මේ ප්‍රශ්න දෙකටම ඇඩ්‍රස් කරා වෙනවා කියන. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම කන්ෆියුෂන් එක වගේ ගේනවා කියන්නේ අර ප්‍රශ්න ටික මොනවාද දැනගෙන ඒකට ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා බලලා තමයි ගේන්න වෙන්නේ. නැත්තම් ප්‍රශ්න දන්නෙත් නෑ. දැන් 87ත් ගේනකොට එහෙමයි ගෙනාවේ. හැබැයි ප්‍රශ්න ටික මොනවාද කියලා ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න වෙයි.
Dhammika, can I stop you there and turn to the Prime Minister? So he's talking a lot about government reform. Does Sri Lanka have a strategy of automating some of these services and making it more efficient and accessible to our citizens?
Yes, we have to automate government. We are looking at certain new measures to be taken. But on the other hand, we have the highest number of government servants in the world. So you have to balance both those out. That's one of the issues which we have been discussing. Okay, you have so many at that level. What do you do with them? That's a big political issue. But we have to automate because as we go along, the economy itself must create more work if you are going to have the IT and the knowledge sectors expanding. So balance out, but I think the next 5 years we'll see a large amount of automation taking place in the government sector where we have to create more work for our local firms to engage.
One quick question before I go back to Dhammika again. One question is that the stock market has become a ghost town. Whether the government can actually help these 600,000-700,000 people who live off the market.
This is why we are very, very anxious that after the EPF enters the market again. So that will do, it will certainly help to raise the morale, but there's a lot more to be done on the market before it comes to the earlier levels. But we certainly know that many people depend on the stock exchange for a livelihood or for additional income. So that has been topmost in our mind.
Okay. Dhammika, can I turn to you again about the stock market? And
no,
maybe
stock market එකේ companies වල profit නැති වුණාම ඉතින් stock market එක වැටෙන කහන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් profit එකත් එක්ක තමයි stock market එක තියෙන්නේ. profit අඩු නම් stock market එක අඩුයි, profit වැඩි නම් stock market එක වැඩි. ඉතින් ඒ අරෙන්න
ඔක්කොම shares වලට නෑ ඒක ඒ
principle එක වැඩ කරන්නේ. හැම share එකකටම ඒමයි දැන් හොඳම example එක ගත්තොත් banking sector එක ගත්තොත් net asset value එකට වඩා අඩුවෙන් trade වෙන්නේ. ඇයි? තියෙන net asset එකට treasury bond rate එක ඉන්නේ annual rate එක. මොකද 63% tax.
හැබැයි ධම්මික මේ මම හිතන්නේ ටැක්ස් එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන් මොකක් ලාභ සෑහන ප්‍රොෆිටබල් කියලා හිතාගෙන තමයි බැංකුවලට
ඒක තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් බජට් එක හදනකොට බජට් එක හදන්නේ කොහෙන්ද ගන්න පුළුවන් ලොකුවට කියලා බලලා ගහනවා. ඒ ඇරෙන්න මොකද ඒ ඇරෙන්න ඒ බැංකුවේ කැපිටල් එක කොච්චරද කියලා බලලා ඒ බැංකුවේ කැපිටල් එකටවත් ට්‍රෙෂරි බිල් රේට් හදන්න බැරි නම් ඒක බලන්නේ නැතුව මොකද අතන වොලියුම් එක පේන්න තියෙනවා 10%ක් දැම්මම ගාන දාන්නවා එන්න කියනවා. ඉතින් බජට් හදන්නේ එහෙමයි. හැබැයි අපි මේ රටවල් 71ක් අර $20,000 ඉඳලා per capita එක $4,000 වලට තියෙනවා. මම ඇත්තට මගේ එක්ස්ප්ලනේෂන් එක මම එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්නම් ටැක්ස් ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක හදන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
Prime Minister, can I again ask you another question on tax reform?
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges we have is to increase our revenue as a percentage of GDP. Do we have an overall strategy around that to get more people into the tax net
There are two things.
without taxing
Yeah.
the same people? I think that's his concern.
I think the tax net is expanding, but you have to remember the base is poor.
Yeah.
You cannot tax them. And secondly, certain tax burdens have to come on
Yeah.
if you are going to raise your revenue from what you had to what you want it to be.
Yeah.
But the fact is, despite those burdens, our economy is working in the sense that after a long time, we are having positive balances. You hold it for another year or two, and you will see how the investments come in. It's not a good thing to say that there have been burdens, but where would you have been if we didn't increase the revenue? Where would you have been if we didn't get the primary balances? Your businesses would have been worse off. We are certainly into the middle income. We are get out of the middle income trap. But remember that unlike earlier, when our debt was in rupees, we had no problem of going ahead. But debt is in foreign currency, and then your currency is depreciating. So you stay in the same place. This is why you have to get your budget into order before those other changes take place. It's not a very, very pleasant thing. But unfortunately, this is what is the medicine that we have to take for the illnesses we have got ourselves into.
Dhammika, you had a strategy of helping Sri Lanka to get out of the debt trap. I heard you speaking somewhere.
I can explain that, that
Yeah.
because the economy grows, this kind of amount is nothing, the number. Because you have to grow the economy, then the revenue will go up. Otherwise, without growing economy, you don't have, that, we can do the magic. But only thing, that everyone have to realize to create new jobs. Because even the USA, before the quarter GDP growth comes, they look every month job data. If they are not creating the new job, then they know economy in trouble. According to even the macro fundamental that occurs low, they said decreasing the unemployment rate is, affect the economy. That. But our people are looking unemployment, not looking the employment. Right? Because they have to see that is employment is creating or not. Otherwise, it's, that you don't need to look the unemployment because you can cook anyway that, the unemployment rate. But you have to see the employment because you can get the EPF, ETF contribution. Because of that is the number is the employment rate. Then even the USA, they are so worried about the employment. This is a reason, because of the even the USA, they implement the taxes to create more jobs. ඒක කරන්න ගිහිල්ලා වෙන රටවල් එක්ක තරහ වෙනවා because of the private investment. අපේ ආණ්ඩුව private investment එක්ක තරහ වෙනවා. අර ඒ පිටරටත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා තරහ වෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ව බේරන්න. මොකද මේක රියලයිස් කරලා නැහැ. At least every year you have to create 120,000 jobs. ඒක කරන්න බැරි නම් economic grow වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක every month බලන්න පුළුවන්, every day බලන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද EPF, ETF contribution එකයි new jobs create වෙනවද කියන එකයි every day බලන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මම සමහරක් companies වලට මේ පාර දුන්නා with the artificial intelligence hourly budget. They have to go hourly budget, not the 365-day budget.
Okay.
Because they have technology.
Dhammika, I'll stop you there because so many questions here. Mr. Can you take one quickly?
To the
Yeah.
Prime Minister, in terms of
Yeah.
there was budget was presented, and a lot of people said it's progressive. Also, then there's this. Some people said it was short-termist, but I think there have been some key measures initiated. Would you highlight, given the job generation requirement, what were the key highlights in your view as long-term?
No, on the job generation, one of the factors we see as politicians is that it's more a question of underemployment than unemployment. If you look at those who want to have employment and you offer them employment in the private sector, they won't go. The demand today is for a pension. So you can earn what you want even on the rural economy, some of them can. But there is a demand for security, demand for pension. So the demand for pension, jobs with pensions have really put pressure on all the politicians. While you would send them to other areas, some will go in, some won't. So we have to now look at what we are going to do on that sector. As Dhammika said, okay, then we have to get moving. We may have to get into a national pension scheme in the private sector also, because these are some of the issues that we find. But basically, to create employment, firstly is we are pumping in money into the economy because there was a deficit. There had to be a deficit in money available. So we've pumped money into it, and we have to keep pumping money for some time. But there's a transformation that's taking place. This is why we are looking at the tax incentives. We are looking again at revising some of the tax incentives, because people have to invest and the new sectors must grow. The second is that money must be available to the private sector, and there must be cheaper money available. So those would be the basic issues we are moving on to. Then the ease of doing business. I mean, these are all long term. There isn't any short term, but this is what is taking place now. We are becoming attractive for investments. Investments are growing. I'd like it to be much faster. And I'd like to say it's growing, yes, but I am dissatisfied, but I want it to be much faster. So we are doing a transformation which is taking place. If you look at the figures, but its full impact is not felt by the people, and we are still getting out of the difficulties we have faced in the last few years. Still, if you look at some sectors of the rural economy, their incomes from tea and rubber have come down. And then that's affecting them. So there may be pockets that get affected even during the Sinhala New Year. So those are the issues that we have to look at the overall economy, of getting it back to life, and then getting growth on again. And how do you increase your tradable goods? Until you increase your tradable goods, I mean, you're not going to have the
Dutch disease.
product what you require. So it's a complete change that is taking place, which has to be fueled by the private sector, but from the smallest trader to the biggest person, this is taking place.
Okay. This is a fairly hairy question about what is the government's current relationship with the president, and also about the fate of the budget on the 5th of April.
Well, they said we lose the second reading, we didn't. And the fate of the budget doesn't lie in the votes in parliament. It's how we implement it thereafter, and that of the country. Well, relations with the president certainly are not what it was in January 2015, but somehow everyone keeps getting along.
Okay. Dhammika, can I move to you quickly?
No,
Yeah.
Dinesh, the මම කිව්වේ branches 6 ගාන එක district එකට අරින්න 10 දෙනා ගත්තත් 1500 යන්නේ 1.5 million ඇතුලේ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මම කියන්නේ අර වගේ branches දැම්මේ නැත්තම් identity card office එකට passport office එකට motor රථ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට මැනිකා ස්වර්ණාභරණ එකට රට යන මිනිස්සුන්ට මේ full pledge මේ branches district wise දැම්මේ නැත්තම් මේක ඇත්තටම මේක national issue එකක් කරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. මොකද දාන්න නැති හින්දා තමයි මේ ඉෂුව එක තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි මේ ටික දැම්මට පස්සේ මොකද අපි මොනවා කිව්වත් අපිට ස්ටැබිලිටි එක ගන්න මේ හැම මිනිහම හොඳින් ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් හොඳින් නැති වෙච්ච ගමන් ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වල දාලා නිකන් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මොන දේ කරත් ඉකොනොමික ග්‍රෝ වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒක මැක්‍රෝ ෆන්ඩමෙන්ටල් ඔකන්ස් ලෝ වල ලියලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඉකොනොමි එක ග්‍රෝ වෙන්නේ නැහැ job generate වෙන්නේ නැත්නම්. ඒක තමයි even the USA why they are prioritize the job data. Every month they are looking.
Sir, another area that we need to discuss is all the ambassadors talked about the need to upgrade our skills. Can you maybe share some of your insights around that?
Yeah, that's why we have
Yeah.
started with the school sector.
Yeah.
Where 50% leave the school after O levels. So get them into the system, and we are trying to get the upper secondary vocational stream in. But they are here thereafter. What is going to do in the vocational sector is that the private sector has to get involved in it. In the sense, we can do a fair amount of funding. We are not asking them, but private, because then it's only then you are going to create the market demand we met. I mean, even in some of the European countries, this change had to take place in the vocational technical sector. It was not a problem in USA and Canada, which was more market oriented. But the education sector itself for vocational and technical skills have to respond to the demands of the job market. That I think is the major issue that we have to tackle now.
Okay. One quick question on tourism. I think it was the Malaysian ambassador who said that we should not focus on the numbers but on the income that we are generating. What is your view on that, and what do we need to do going forward?
I think you need both. We have to increase the quality. But also, if your rooms fill them, I think Dhammika told us there are 90,000 rooms.
9,000.
Yeah.
So if you can get someone in, but at
Yeah.
the bottom end, ensure that you get more for your homestays and go in for the top. It's a question of you have a product. If you really develop it, that's what we have to do. For instance, now our road network will ensure from Colombo to Hambantota onwards, Dambulla you are linked onto. We are trying to open the domestic care services far into the east. But there are so many more new areas that are coming in. I think we'll be putting out Iranavilla as the first big resort for someone to apply, with when others will be put in. So we are making that change. And I think what we've done here of reducing, of exempting visas, fees from many other tourist countries for the low season will also help us. But we have to market. We have to market ourselves, and we have to market ourselves more. It's a joint venture between the private sector, the government, and the small people. I find there's a bigger demand going on, which is one of the changes we are finding, that homestays are becoming popular, which means you're having some income there.
Okay.
But making licenses available for them, there's a lot more to be done. And remember that the World Cup and the Expo in Middle East are going to take part of our trained staff away in the next 2 years.
Okay. Dhammika, you like to comment on the tourism sector since you have a lot of tourism assets?
Yeah, that the only thing that is the reason after the war, I'm asking the connectivity from Katunayaka to Palali, because even though diaspora want to come to see the Sri Lanka, they want to go to Jaffna, they have no plane. Then they're not going by road, because it take 8 hours to 10 hours. Then they can go to the Canada to America. But last 10 years, they have no connectivity. You cannot put a one flight or two flight from the Katunayaka airport to the Palali. The diaspora will think, from there, and they're dreaming and scolding us. This is the reason, because they dream and scold us. Here, we don't have any problems. But they are not coming to visit because they have no connectivity. At least, we have to sort it out, those kind of the problems. Otherwise, the country will go, some more down, because we can see. Because last 5 years we wait. Last 5 years, 2014 full year to today, every year is $50, $50, $50. Then it's 160 years to go to achieve $12,000.
Mr.
No, Dhammika, I like to get your response. I mean, mostly people blame politics. Private sector actually blames politics. We are also heading for lots of elections. Is this bad politics is a real problem for private sector growth? Are you saying private sector cannot grow, take political uncertainty as a given situation?
But you said there is bad politics.
Yeah.
Bad politics is not the grow the economy. It's like that. But our case, I'm not scolding the government, because we know it's getting delayed. Because of nicely we planned six years ahead, and we put the application. I know the processing time is 6 years. We smile and wait. I have no problem. I am not scolding anyone because I know the procedure here. Because of that, I am happy because I know that what we have to do. Then everyone is 6 years, then they are also happy.
Yeah. So you like to comment on that?
Politics in Sri Lanka is no different
To any other country?
from India or anywhere else. Generally in South Asia, politics is a mess. But we are going ahead.
Yeah.
Because remember, our biggest market is India, which is growing.
Yeah.
There's Bangladesh, which is growing. There's Pakistan, which is growing. But our politics and our bureaucracy, actually in some places of Indian states, they are better than us now. But now we've learned some of the issues that we ourselves can go ahead. In the 80s, Sri Lanka was considered to be the best place. We went down in it. Now we've got to pick out of that, come out of that. But taking on one of the other issues, connectivity. Now we have prepared to allow the private sector to fly anywhere in Sri Lanka. And if you want go from Colombo to Palali to South India, we talked to the Indians also of sending planes into Palali. But someone must take the challenge. All of them find that they cannot compete with the Jaffna man who runs those long distance buses in the night.
Okay. So there is one. So there is a question here with the current government over the last 4 years have built more roads than the last 6 years. How come nobody is talking about it? They won't know.
We are not advertising it. But everywhere now, on Sunday we opened 200 roads one day because there are so many to be done. But remember, we've structured it together so that at last from Kandy to Hambantota, that will be the backbone of the new system. And into the city of Colombo, what are the things you started, like the light trail, the roads into the road to Rajagiriya, elevated road, the road into the port, all those are coming in. We are a bad lot, but is there any bunch better than us?
So a quick comment on Port City also? On Port City?
No, Port City, I think the work has gone ahead. We are trying to get the legislation in. AG's department delegation went across to China. They are back. They are looking at our drafts of the financial bill. We are trying to make Port City into a area of offshore jurisdiction to be exercised there. And at the same time, the new Hambantota project, which is coming through the Ruhuna Economic Development Corporation. So we've done our drafts, but members who are out there in China is now looking at what are the changes that should be made to the law.
Yeah. Dhammika, sorry. Dhammika, you were talking about interest rates and all that being too high, that you can't do business at these high interest rates. Now this is the best time to bring it up.
No, Dinesh, but I know the situation. I cannot request like that. Because then what we have to do, you have to allow private sector to bring the foreign debts. You know, they have to borrow from the foreign, but central bank have to sub, because now they are swapping they borrow the money 835, and other side the 10-year bond is 11.35.
One question.
Then they have to swap with the 3.5 or 10 years. Then people will borrow. Then the fiscal space on the local investors, that local borrowings will go up. Otherwise, what happened today, from the total GDP for the available fund for the private sector is 70, but from 70 also, but they have another 15% go to the government companies. Only 55 is available for the private sector. Then that 55% have to grow up to at least 90 to 100%. But then is the foreign borrowing. But only thing, the central bank have to swap the currency for 10 years, not 1 year, because 1 year no one is taking. At the moment they are doing 1 year, but the 1 year is not attractive to bring the foreign debt. But if they're 10 years, then of course the people will bring the foreign borrowings.
Okay. Right. Since the Prime Minister needs to go, one final question to him would be, what is your expectation from the private sector?
First, I must say, I agree with Dhammika, interest rates are too high. I don't want to say anything else. The government look very uncomfortable. Both of them speak to each other. And this is over. No, I have a lot of faith in our private sector. And we will pull through. Look at our private sector. When the British came in and started a commercial economy in the 1860s, by the end of the century, we were dominating many sectors. We went through the 70s, the difficult 70s, and the private sector survived that. We've run an economy with a war going on both in the north and the south. And now we're just coming through a period of fiscal consolidation. We will all, I think, now have the experience. Without the private sector, we will not grow. We all are the engines of growth. And you all have to keep moving. We've had difficulties, and as usual, the private sector must complain. If you don't complain, you're not the private sector. Then you'll be complacent and you're the government sector. So don't be that. Keep complaining, and let's see how we can make the world, this country, a little bit better. And with people here, you see like Harry and Dhammika and all, I am sure that with all your
Sir, we are also not creating the job.
Huh?
At the moment, we are also not creating
I know, but you all have gone out and created jobs. Come back and create the jobs. that's all that we have to do. No, but you held the economy and you all have done well, I must say, because we are a market-oriented, we are for a market-oriented economy and for a larger role for the private sector to play. And I have no doubt that in the coming years, that role will expand. But you have to compete. Remember, you must learn to compete with the world. And that's what we want you all to do, because I know you can succeed. You are good at it. So let's make it possible for us to go ahead and then ensure that we deliver the goods. It requires a government and a private sector to deliver the goods. Not only the private sector at the top, but also the man who runs their small boutique at the junction. All of them are necessary. My faith is there. My party believes in it. So let's now hope for let's get through the next phase where we can build on the consolidation that has taken place.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dhammika.